So have you ever asked yourself, do you drink too much, or have you had other people, maybe friends or family, mention to you that maybe you drink too much? Well, there's a bunch of warning signs. I know sometime back right before I got sober, well, right at the beginning when I got sober, I was doing my own research. I'm kind of a research nerd, and I found this site. I think it was like the American Psychiatric Institute or something like that, but it had 12 different signs that if you answer yes to one of these things over a period of a 6 month period of time in the last 12 months, then you're an alcoholic. I just had to check one. And darn if I didn't check all 12 of these signs I checked. And it was not once every 6 months. In a given 6 months, it was like almost daily. So I wanted to go over some of this stuff with you. I'm not using 12. There's seven. But so let's just get right into it. So if you're just wondering, because sometimes people really have a problem thinking about, am I an alcoholic really? Because people think alcoholics are like, the guy that's living under the overpass in a cardboard box. That's no, 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 no. Alcoholics. Anyway, check these out and see what you think. All right, so let's dive into this. Number one, you're drinking more than you planned. How often does that happen? When you go to a party or you have friends over and you only plan on, drinking one or two beers or having a drink, with family or friends, going out to dinner after work. But you always end up drinking more than what you had set out to do. That's one of the biggest red flags out there, is drinking more than what you had set out to do. And before you realize it, you're 4 or 5 drinks in and you're wondering how you're going to get home. Another huge sign is building tolerance. How many times have you, I don't know, like in the beginning when you first started drinking, think about whenever that was, and you would drink maybe one or two beers and you're like feeling kind of tipsy. I knew people that, especially some ladies that drank one beer and then they were like gone. They were practically like nodding off. But those same people over a period of time, your system is building a tolerance level. And that's what happened with me. In the beginning, I would drink like maybe I'd have a shot, and maybe let's say a martini. I'd have more because I only drink vodka and bourbon and whiskey. So I would have a martini, and man, I was like feeling it. Definitely, mine was numb. I wasn't thinking straight. But then 25 years later, 25 years of hardcore drinking, it would take probably 5 martinis. My tolerance level was building up big time. And towards the end, the latter several years of my drinking, I was doing 50 shots a day. 50 shots a day. So my tolerance level. So if you find that your tolerance level is slowly increasing or rapidly increasing, then you might have a problem. All right. Another one is using alcohol to cope. So it's a coping mechanism. So do you feel like if you're happy, you need a drink? If you're sad, you need a drink. If you're pissed off, you need a drink. If any of these things, if just normal emotions, talked about this, yesterday, I think on here, if just normal emotions that people have, do you feel like a drink should accompany that emotion? This is when it gets bad, is when you start neglecting responsibilities. Are you purposely showing up late to work because you're always sick? How about family things? Are you putting off doing things with your family when everybody's having a good time out in the backyard grilling or in the pool or they're playing volleyball out back? Are you inside watching TV, or you just don't feel like going out there? One of the biggest things that I treasure today, being sober over 2 years and almost 3 months, is that I am purposely present. I'm intentionally present for things. And that is so nice. So if you're neglecting responsibilities with your job or your school or your family, you might need to be thinking about how much you're drinking. Okay, another one is drinking alone, or you're drinking secretly. I would do most of my drinking was done alone or in secret. I mean, I had alcohol hid all over my house. I remember this. I was a year sober and still finding hidden bottles of liquor in my house. That's pretty bad when you don't even remember where you hid the damn stuff in order to drink it. And yeah, I probably found 5 or 6 bottles over a period of the next year, just normal cleaning or throwing away stuff or going through my bookshelf, or I had it hid everywhere. But I tell you, my disease wants me, my alcohol problem, wanted me alone in the dark with a bottle. That was my comfort zone. All right, another thing to think about, like if you think or wondering if you have a drinking problem, a good sign is if you have many attempts to fail, you fail, and many attempts to stop drinking, and you just can't, or you just want to cut back, and you just can't do it. That is a really strong sign there that you can't do it on your own, because that's really what it comes down to is we can't do this on our own. So if you have many failed attempts, number one, that's telling you right there that, I got a problem and I need to stop or cut back. Most of the time, alcoholics can't cut back. We think we can. Our ego wants to tell us we can. Our self-will wants to tell us we can, but we can't. We have to go abstinent. And I know that's hard. That's hard to swallow right now. No pun intended. But that is really what it comes down to is abstinence. Yeah. Another sign you can be looking out for is you look in to see how things are going with your health and your family, your relationships. Are your relationships tanking? Is your wife or is your husband telling you that, maybe you're drinking too much? Or do your arguments at home always tend to revolve around drinking? I mean, we had some, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air whether my divorce had to do with my drinking or not. But if it wasn't there, it probably wouldn't have been a whole lot of problems. And so we did have problems, and it did come up every once in a while. So I mean, only you can answer that. Does it come up a lot in arguments with your spouse or with your kids? Will your kids talk to you or not talk to you because you're drinking? At the end of my drinking, I had 2 kids that wouldn't talk to me. One still doesn't after 2 years of sobriety. But I had kids that just totally disowned their dad because, I don't know, well, all the bad things that come along with the drinking. But how about your health? I could talk I can talk a long time on this one. I was a picture of health for many, many years. I'm 57 today. I got sober at 55. And I think at 53, I developed cirrhosis, so I could definitely talk about health issues. But the silk alcoholic that I am, I did sober up for about 3 months after I was diagnosed with cirrhosis. But I went right back to drinking. Drank for another year and a half after that about. That's why this is a inside problem. It's an inside problem. And the only way that I was able to get better was a spiritual and an inside remedy. It's a spiritual remedy. And then following a plan and hanging around people that are who I want to be with and who I want to be like. So look at your health and look at relationship. So I hit on about 7 things. I want to tell you that I am a perfect example. Then there's millions of others. I'm nobody special, but I'm an example of somebody who drank heavily. And this has to do with drugs and alcohol. It's a dependence. It's an addiction. But I'm going to tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. I had the worst health problems you could get. I mean, I was borderline on my deathbed. It was right around the corner for me. But every aspect of my life was in shambles. It was totally unmanageable. And I got into a program. I asked God for help, and I started hanging around people who I wanted to be like, and everything changed. But check these out for yourself. Do some self-diagnosis using these 7 things that I threw at you today. And give me a comment. Tell me how you feel below. What do you think? Are you starting to see signs that maybe you drink too much? Check it out. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you. And give me a comment and let me know how you're doing.